A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Pavani. I hope you are doing good. Today is 10th October. Before moving ahead, I would like to say sorry to all of you guys because things are a bit delayed today. Trust me, something that is totally out of my control. There is in fact a massive power failure in my area. So all the battery backup and everything that I was having, it got dried, and finally I was forced to move out. And then you have to find a place where you have electricity, and making a couple of phone calls, it's a bit difficult. It looks easy, but it's very difficult in the morning. Then you have to travel, you have to get ready for 5-10 kilometers traveling, and half of things are done and half the things are not done. And so anyways, we are lucky enough today we are here now, right? So I'm going to be very limited today. Of course, the main reason why I thought I should deliver the lecture as soon as possible is because I don't want you to you guys, I don't want your schedule to be disturbed because of this electric failure in my area. So we are going to go through important articles. So let's crack on. The first and the most important article that you find in today's The Hindu newspaper is this one: another warning on warming. And then you have this one as well, target 1.5. Both these articles are interrelated. Of course, they are talking about one thing, but this article here, this one is the most important one if you ask me, right? Then you can check out this editorial as well. So let's crack on. Let's start with this another warning on warming. Warming basically stands for global warming, as I'm sure we all are aware about this thing. Now, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC, came out with a latest report, and in its report, this IPCC is talking about steps we need to take to stop global warming. And what are the things that we can do? It is also providing us two options, to control things. One option is all right. The second one is not that good one, but still we are going to talk about both of them as we move ahead. Now, this special report on global warming is talking about 1.5 degrees Celsius average global temperature. Now, the thing is, dear friends, in COP21, that is Conference of Parties 21, that is also known as Paris Agreement. In Paris Agreement, the nations, or you can say the whole world, was on one page. We said that we recognize that climate change is something that is very serious. We need to do something about it. So everyone basically agreed on this climate change or Paris Agreement, that we need to do something about it. And it was decided at that point of time, so many things, we have talked about all those items earlier on as well, but for the benefit of new students, I'm just going to give you some few points, and then of course you have to do a little bit of hard work by yourself. So it was decided that we will the rich countries or the developed countries, they are going to keep some funds on one side, and these funds will be used by developing nations like India and other countries for technology transfer, for purchasing those technologies, as well as for for making sure that these funds are used for protecting their natural resources and natural environment. So this was decided under this Paris Agreement. It was also decided at that point of time, this freedom was given to various different countries, that they can come out with the national, these contributions, nationally determined contribution. So as per this NDCs, what happens is that you come out with your own list. You will say that we are going to do this and that. So we said that we are going to, by 2022, India is going to produce 175 gigawatt of electricity from renewable sources. So this is our commitment. The second commitment that we have done is that based on 2005's emission level, we are going to reduce things from somewhere around 33 to 35%, right? All these greenhouse gases will be reduced. Its emission will be reduced to up to 33 to 35% by 2030 or 35, something around. I think it's 2030. So these are our NDCs, and there are other NDCs as well that we have decided. There are various other NDCs, and other nations of the world as well. They have of this world, they have decided that they are going to come out with their own NDCs, and they have in fact. Now the problem is at present what we are this report, this IPCC report, is indicating that back in 2015, when this Paris Agreement was signed, when the nations of the world, they agreed on this Paris Agreement. At that point of time, it was believed, or it was said, that by the turn of this century, that means before we touch 2100. Today we are in 2018, so this will help you what I'm saying about 21. So 2100, before we reach 2100, we have to make sure that we do not cross 2 degrees Celsius global or average global temperature, right? And 1.5, we should try to keep it below 1.5, but max limit, the threshold that we should not cross, is 2 degrees Celsius. But now this IPCC report is saying that forget about this 2 degrees Celsius. We have to do everything that is possible, right, to make sure that we do not cross 1.5 degrees Celsius. The reason is, first of all, we have to understand here that 1.5 degree may look a little bit, and 0.5 degree, 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius may look a little bit to many of us, but in reality, the thing is that we have to remember that we add average, right? This is average temperature that we are talking about. Now let's take example of Arctic Ocean. The global temperature is somewhere around it's more than 1 degree Celsius compared to pre-industrial era, and very soon we are going to hit 1.5 degrees Celsius. But if you go to Arctic Ocean or Arctic region, that is North Pole, that is generally speaking very cold, its temperature is higher than what it used to be pre-industrial era. Now it is more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. So you see here that it's an average temperature that we are talking about. So in some places temperature is quite high, which is of course not healthy for that particular area. If temperature is too high in this Arctic Ocean compared to what it used to be in this region, then it's a very dangerous red flag that we are seeing here. So Arctic Ocean, one more thing, before moving ahead, let me throw some basic light on this Arctic Ocean here. Of course, as you can see on your screen, you can see North Pole here, so it's part of North Pole. You can see Arctic Circle here, you can see Russia, Norway and other countries, so you can figure it out that it is in the northern hemisphere, right on the top of the earth we are. So here we use the terminology Arctic Ocean because the ice that we see here, right, is basically, it's an ice that has been formed over the top of an ocean, right? But in the southern hemisphere, in South Pole, things are a bit different. In southern hemisphere or southern pole, South Pole, we have ice formed over a continent. So here, over on water you have ice, and over there you have ice over a piece of land. So this is a basic difference between Arctic and Antarctic. So ocean melting is going to destroy its ecosystem, right? It is going to impact the whole world because it will add more water to ocean and seas, and this will raise this sea level, and this is going to be a big threat for so many tiny islands out there. It's going to be a big thing, in terms of ecosystem. It's going to create huge amount of changes, subtle changes, but this subtle changes and its ripple effect is going to continue for a very long period of time. So this is a thing. Now the thing is, 2 degrees Celsius that we were talking about, if we cross 2 degrees Celsius, or by time we will reach 2 degrees Celsius, it is said that we'll see a sea level rise of 50 centimeter. It may not look that big, at present it's 50 centimeter is nothing, because even if we are maintaining our temperature at 1.5 degree, then it's going to be 40 centimeters. So just a 10 centimeter more when you are at 2 degrees Celsius, so it's fine. But the thing is, it may look alright, but once you cross this 2 degrees Celsius, what is going to happen is that we are going to hit, or in fact we are going to cross this tipping point. What tipping point is all about, I will explain that concept in a minute, but before that let me throw some light on this 1.5 degree Celsius mark around 2014. So if we are able to maintain global temperature average, of course, somewhere below 1.5 degrees Celsius, then our oceans, which are getting acidification is taking place. It is going to take place, but it's going to be less severe, right, compared to what we will get in 2 degrees Celsius. It's going to protect our marine ecosystem. Of course, it is going to be harmful than what it used to be, but it's better than 2 degrees Celsius. It's better than, in terms of droughts as well, it is better than 2 degrees Celsius. In terms of heat waves, it's better than 2 degrees Celsius. In terms of crop management, there are so many crops, like wheat is a very heat sensitive crop. A little bit of high temperature and this crop may fail, this wheat crop will fail, and this will impact so many farmers, right? Millions and millions of farmers in our country, from Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, parts of Gujarat and parts of other places, and Bihar, of course. And what will happen is that this tiny pockets where you find big pockets, as well as tiny pockets where you find this wheat production, farmers are going to create, they are going to face a huge amount of losses, and because of this thing, the price of things will get expensive. This will create political turmoil, economical turmoil, and so many other impacts, right? So the ripple effect is this big of climate change, and it's going to create trouble in terms of livelihood opportunities for so many people. So if we want to make our maintain our food security, health, fresh water sources, if we want human security, livelihood opportunities, and economic growth, then we have to make sure that we work together and keep this global temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, I was talking about tipping point. What tipping point is all about? See, tipping point is a point or a place or a state that once you cross it, then there is no return ticket. Like, say, for example, here, right, you are trying to, the way things are going on. Let's imagine that this is about climate change process. So it's getting, bigger and bigger, more and more severe. It's, of course, taking a bit of time at present. But once we will cross this tipping point, right, it will have this snowball effect. Snowball effect is, when snowball, right, a small snowball, when you roll it down, then as it is coming down, it will get bigger and bigger. It will become a bit more speedier, and it's going to be a bit more dangerous. So same thing will happen with this climate change too. Once we will cross this limit, then what we will find is that this Greenland ice will start, this is Greenland here. This is Canada here. So the ice of Greenland will start melting at a very rapid pace. Then you have the South Pole. We were talking about this Antarctica continent, isn't it? So you have this Totten Glacier, and this Totten Glacier is one of the fastest flowing and largest glacier in Antarctica. And new research has found that the larger part of this glacier is floating than previously thought, increasing its potential as a driver of sea level rise. It is also said that if of this ice of northern portion, this Greenland, and then you have this southern portion, if the way things are going on, it can raise the sea level up to 50 meters. Can you believe this thing? Once we cross this 2 degrees Celsius, so 2 degree is our tipping point. After that, there is no return ticket at all whatsoever. So we have to be very careful here. We have Amazon. Amazons are known as lungs of the world, isn't it? And this Amazon as well will, the way things are going on, we know that we are continuously destroying our jungles and forests and other places. So it's a big biodiversity hub here. And if Amazon is going down, then the lungs of Earth is going down, and this is a no return ticket as well. So big troubles that we have created for ourselves. And IPC, as I told you, that it is recommending us 2 strategies. Now the first one is alright, the second one is not so alright, because in the first one it is saying that we have to limit this temperature around 1.5 degrees Celsius with no or limited overshoot, right? Either we will not allow any sort of 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold crossing, or if there is, then it's going to be a little bit 1.6 or 1.7. Now this can be decided by scientists, but limited, very limited overshoot or crossing this 1.5 degrees Celsius line. But for that, we have to make sure that by 2030, right, whatever carbon dioxide or this carbon emission that we were doing at 2010, we have to get rid of 45% of that amount. So to make it simple, say if you were producing 100 kilo carbon in a year, just a small example, right, hypothetical, of course. So in 2010 we were producing 100 kilo, then we need to get rid of 45%. So by 2030, whatever we are producing, it should be not much than 55 kilo. around the world, right? And by mid-century, that is by 2050, we have to make it zero. So it's a big ambitious target, but it is achievable as well, I believe. If we deploy technology, if we deploy resources and other things, then yes, we can achieve it. The second item is that second strategy is that we can cross this 2 degrees Celsius, but that is going to be a big problem, because we are talking about, you know, playing around with this tipping point. So this is a thing that is rejected by, or not endorsed by, the writer of this article. As well as if you ask me, right, then I would say no, we should not play around with 2 degrees Celsius. We should rather stick with 1.5 degrees Celsius. Then we have this thing called carbon budget as well. Carbon budget is whatever space for carbon is left out there in our atmosphere, how we are going to use it, right? This is something that we have to decide on. And before moving ahead, I have a couple of questions for you guys, some things that are related with this article or this topic. So can you tell me, right, I told you that COP21 took place in Paris. So what about COP 22, 23 and 24, right? Do let me know about this 3 meetings here, in which particular city it took place, and if any of these meetings are going to take place in future, then in which place they are going to take place. So do let me know in the comment section of this video. Now, the deep divides among rich countries and emerging economies and least developed countries are reality. People are still, you know, playing politics on this thing. We should rather collaborate with each other and make sure that we protect our world. Moving on to another item, dear friends, it's something related with this another warning on warming. It's target 1.5, and this editorial, there is nothing that we have not talked about you know, earlier on or in today's discussion that you know, that you will find, you know, that you'll find new in this 1.5. One thing that is very interesting to note in this editorial, and this is very interesting point here for your capacity building, for your understanding, is that at present people are aware about climate change. We are not blaming any particular country or any particular person. We know that this is something that is created by mankind, so we are accepting this responsibility, and that means, you know, people will support you if you take some radical decisions. I'm just giving you a small example. When demonetization was conducted, you know, I'm not saying that it was I'm not saying that it's a successful thing or it's a big failure, right? I will leave it on you guys to decide whether it is good or bad. There are some good points, some bad points. We have this mix of you can say results when it comes to demonetization. But what I'm trying to highlight here is that when demonetization was executed at that point of time, people of our nation, they were, you know, they faced a bit of problem, but they were at least happy. They were happy because they were, you know, people, they were having this sentiment that government is doing at least something about black money. So in the same way, if we take some radical steps, it's going to be a bit painful for people, but they will appreciate it and they will support, you know, this cut down or chopping down of this carbon emission. So government should be confident enough to take some hard decisions. Now, before moving ahead, let me inform you, all of you, that UPSC optional pen drive courses are provided by StudyIQ.com. We have covered geography, psychology, sociology, philosophy, public administration. All these subjects are available. To find out more about it, do check out StudyIQ.com. Download the PDF of today's lecture from my FB page and Twitter handle. Now, dear friends, let me throw some light on this article here. This one is an interview of Defense Minister. So if you have extra time, help yourself with this one, or else it's fine. This one is about we need a pro-liberty judicial approach. Again, an easy read one. If you don't read it as well, that's going to be fine as far as your exams are concerned. But here you have salvaging a strategic partnership. This one is an important article, and here it's about the arrest, the exodus. It's about Gujarat. So let's talk about this salvaging a strategic partnership. On Monday, Oldest Friends, remember? Oldest Friends, there was an editorial, and we have talked about this India and Russia's relationship in detail. So if you are new to this lecture, start with the Monday's discussion, right? You'll find it very interesting when you read this article. So basically, this salvaging a strategic partnership, an old friend is better than two new ones. This was a line. This is an a proverb, you know, from Russia, and this proverb was uttered by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he was having a discussion, or this joint statement was released. So what we are trying to indicate here is that we would rather stick with our old friend rather than, getting more. Basically, we are demonstrating our strategic autonomy. We had this informal meeting back in 2018, May 2018, in Russia, in this Sochi city. And at that point of time, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was there to meet Vladimir Putin. Earlier on, he met Xi Jinping in this informal meeting format. The second format was conducted with Mr. Putin. So we talked about so many regional issues, like we talked about Afghanistan, and we are, supporting this Moscow format of Afghanistan. The Moscow format is basically Russia is engaging with, or it is taking on board other countries, neighboring countries and stakeholders when it comes to sorting out these issues in Afghanistan. So we are part of this Moscow format. We have supported this thing. USA is working independently to have a chat with Taliban and to make sure that Afghanistan is, this peace is returned to this place. But in this plan of USA, India is not on board. So this is a matter of, you can say, a concern. The other thing is Chinese company, who played a role in this purchase of S-400 by China some 8 months ago. They purchased, or this deal was done, and USA has applied sanctions on this thing. So should we worry about sanctions or CAATSA? The thing is, European sanctions are already going on with Russia, and it does not mean that if sanctions are applied, then Russian and European trade is going down. No, in fact, it has boosted, because sanctions on this sort of things are, applicable on currencies, and sector-specific sanctions are applied. So it's not that overall bilateral relationship will get affected. It depends what type of sanctions you are applying. So it's going to be step by step. You make it more and more difficult. So far what we have observed is that trade between Russia and EU has gone up, and this even after these sanctions were applied, and this CAATSA that USA is trying to warn us, we should not be careful. It's important that we pay heed to it, but we have played our own card. We know that if USA will impose sanctions on us, then it would hurt USA's defense sales to India. So this is something that USA believe will not do, and that's a very important card that we have on our hand. Arrest the Exodus is about Exodus is about Gujarat. The people from various different states, they are leaving Gujarat because they have been bullied over there, and very few people are attacking them and things like that. So this has created a panic in the hearts and minds of the people who are from other states, and this is a very sad thing. The other thing is, you will observe this thing. Whenever people are not happy with something, what they will do is they will catch the soft target. You know that migrants are soft target. They don't have their family members. They don't have their, people over here. So you can do whatever you like with them. But that's not right, because the thing is, if you are genuinely brave, then what you should be doing is you should be, asking questions to all those politicians and local police. If you are thinking that these migrants are creating these criminal issues in your particular place, then that's not right. You cannot stereotype people. The other thing is, it is the responsibility of police personnel. They are the ones who are supposed to provide security, right? So if they are not doing their job and then you are blaming someone else for it, then this is not fair at all. And if you want to get rid of someone, then get rid of all those police personnel and politicians who are not performing. I'm not saying, when I say get rid, I don't mean to say be violent. Of course, you have the power as a public, right? Vote them out. Don't bring them in next time, right? File RTIs, do protest, peaceful protest and marching and other things. There are so many thousands of different ways if you really want to help the state or society. And if you are thinking that these people leaving a particular state, or if migration is not allowed, internal migration, if this sort of attitude, and this is something that people of Gujarat are learning from some other states, but this has always been negative for all those states who have done this sort of things. Development is should be inclusive, and we are one country. We should never forget this thing. That's everything in today's discussion. Questions, news items, other things I will post to you as I get power and as I go back to my proper desk, my studio. Till then, enjoy your studies. That's everything that I can do for you guys today. I'm so sorry for it. Again, let me tell you that this is something that was, that is completely out of my control. God bless.